Hamdi Hached from Tunisia will open for us. Talk to us about what's happening in Tunisia.
Because the revolution in 2011, one of the reasons was a climate reason. Because some agriculture in Tunisia, in the south especially, have witnessed some period of drought. So no water is no agriculture, no agriculture, no development, no economy. So people starting to be under some pressure. So for these people, when we happened in 2010, are aligned directly in the revolution, the side of people who are involved. So directly we have people are victims of climate change. They are want to be conducting the change.
The climate change affecting the water, the rainfall actually left most of our people without produce for that particular year, and this has led into conflict in certain areas. I know that Hamdi talked about migration issues. So we also had actually in the one part of Namibia, in the central, east central part, there were actually some conflict with the army people and the locals there, because they were trying to take their livestock to actually graze in the government farms. And this actually brought a very huge conflict between the army and then the community.
Of the country for 2015 to 2021 focuses mostly on poverty alleviation and employment creation, human development. And the most priority areas in the strategic plan are agriculture, mining, tourism, manufacturing, commerce and trade, information, communication and technology. But there is no chapter in the national development, in the national strategic national development plan for the environment. The environment is only covered as a cross-cutting issue, and environmental concerns in the strategic national development plan, both for 2015 to 2020 and the previous ones, have been poorly integrated, and there are no measurable targets as to or indicators to environmental concerns. This also applies to the national budget. There's very little funding allocated to address environmental issues in the country. So in the near future, probably environmental integration would obviously be a thing, or like try to be implemented. But the thing is, we do not have adequate institutions to execute these plans or the capacity.
And what has been happening, together with corruption and underhand work, most of these forests are getting depreciated. Again, we have strong business people who connive with government officials, and they are able to bend rules and to degazette some of these forests and go ahead and start other businesses like extensive farms. A case in point here, we have a very big forest in eastern Uganda that covers over 4,000 square hectares. And as we speak now, around 21 square kilometers of it are going because of some very powerful business person from Kenya, the Rai family. I believe Jonathan has heard of it, played darts with the people here to take part of the forest. And we have a very, very big problem with that.
Political leaders or the government have made poor decisions on the environment and livelihoods. For example, in the Afar region of Ethiopia, there was an expansion for sugarcane and cotton plantations by the government. Even though the Afar people were pastoralists, they were not consulted or compensated when the land was taken for this plantation. And the expansion process for this plantation caused a lot of environmental degradation. It changed the seasonal runoff patterns for Awash River and really affected the indigenous people living there. And there's another instance as well where there was conflict in the western region of Ethiopia, in the Gambela region, where there were a lot of land grabs going on. So lands were being given to foreign investors in western Ethiopia. And there's a huge national park in Gambela region, the western region, with a lot of wild animal species and vegetations. But because of the pressure from the federal forces and foreign investors, it will be subjected to change in the future. And the land grabs have caused a lot of conflict with the indigenous people there. The Aymara people who are indigenous to the place were forced to leave their land, and huge areas of the lands were given to bigger companies and causing widespread evictions.
Is while we are pushing for all this renewable energies, but we don't question that a lot of the minerals that are used to develop the renewable energies are still from the continent. So it is not only about what the end product is. We've not looked at the beginning, and cobalt, aluminium, where it's mined from, how it is mined, the extractivism that comes with it. So while everybody will say, oh, we're not polluting the air, but we didn't look at where did the minerals come from and what damage did it cause to be able to extract the minerals that are needed to develop that wind, the wind turbines.
For example, in Tanzania, we are currently having different projects like the SGR construction, mineral and coal extraction activities in different areas. We have lakes which people are undergoing the fishing activities. Also from the rural areas, that the agricultural activities and livestock activities are taking place there. With all these activities have led the Tanzania into some problems, especially on the climate change and the environmental issues, which brought Tanzania into this risk of having higher temperatures, sometimes more floods in different areas, some areas getting droughts, and also sometimes we get the rise in the sea level, which sometimes threatens some of the agricultural production and the livelihood for these people who are living around those areas.
So it's not every time that we have such people, but that are ineptitude. That ineptitude is. Sometimes it could be corruption because of the kinds of living. The environment is huge. You think about it, whether it is gold, it is petroleum, it's agriculture, it's everything. There is none of these things that you do absent environment. Therefore, there is a lot of favor to be curried. There is one nepotism, there is one corruption or the other that is always available for people here who, despite competence, can choose to look the other way and do what is not right. So there has to be the framework, because I was making an example of some institutional framework, for instance, that we have for the Green Great Wall. Nigeria has established an agency for that. Nigeria has an agency for climate change and all of that. But then it then comes to issue of funding, which goes back to the economy that I am agreeing with. So if you don't have the resource, how do you do it? Because, for instance, to clean up the Niger Delta over the next 3 decades, it is estimated that Nigeria needs $500 billion to do it. That's huge, so huge. At the moment, Nigeria's national budget is just about $13 billion. And so when you go to the sub-national level, because Nigeria, we have 36 states, these are other levels of intervention, that are there, that is outside of the federal government whenever we talk about this thing. So it's multi-layered, it is multifaceted, and the challenge is sometimes the communities themselves are not cooperating. It's not every time that one is guilty.